Welcome to The Explainer. You know that feeling when you're deep into a workout and you just hit a wall? You feel completely exhausted. We've all been there. Well, it turns out the real reason you get tired isn't what you think. Today, we're going to solve that mystery. So let's start with that exact feeling. You're giving it your all, running, lifting, whatever it is. And then, bam, you hit a wall. It feels like you physically cannot take another step or lift another ounce. Your body is just screaming stop. But what part of your body is actually doing the screaming? Now, the explanation we've all heard seems pretty simple, right? Your muscles either ran out of gas or they got flooded with waste products like lactic acid. The whole idea is that your muscles just gave out. They reached their absolute final physical limit. But what if that's not the whole story? What if that feeling of exhaustion is actually something else entirely? Okay, let's dive in. We're going to investigate what is really going on when your body slams on the brakes. So, to start this investigation, we have to go right to the scene of the crime, the muscle. And when scientists look really closely at a tired, fatiguing muscle, they find some pretty clear evidence of something they call peripheral fatigue. So, what is peripheral fatigue? The easiest way to think about it is like a hardware issue. The problem is local. It's right there inside the muscle tissue. The actual machinery, the little fibers that make your muscles contract, is physically getting gummed up. It's not a question of trying harder. The muscle just can't do its job as well anymore. And if we're looking for chemical clues at this crime scene, one suspect really stands out. A molecule called inorganic phosphate, or just PI. Study after study shows a really strong connection between high levels of this stuff inside a muscle fiber and a serious drop in that muscle's power output. So the takeaway here is that this buildup of PI seems to directly mess with the muscle's ability to work. It's kind of like metabolic rust getting into the gears of a machine, making everything grind to a halt. Case closed, right? The muscle gets rusty and it stops working. Well, not so fast. So if it's not just the muscle itself running out of steam, what else could possibly be going on? This right here is where our whole investigation takes a sharp turn, and we uncover a much bigger plot. And here's the clue that just blows the whole case wide open. Scientists discovered that even when someone is in a state of total exhaustion, they've completely given up, their muscles haven't actually reached their true physical limit. If you stimulate those same muscles with a little bit of electricity, they can still produce a lot of force. There's a reserve tank they're not using. So wait a minute. If the muscles aren't the ones making the final call to stop, then who is? This crazy discovery points to a mastermind, pulling the strings from a central command center. The real culprit isn't in your legs or your arms, it's in your head, it's your brain. This leads us to this incredible theory from scientist Tim Noakes, the central governor model. And it basically suggests that your subconscious brain acts like a really cautious CEO of a company. It's constantly monitoring your whole body, and it will absolutely cut power to one department, your muscles, to prevent a total system failure that could hurt the whole company, like damaging your heart or other organs. And you know what's wild? This isn't even a new idea. Just look at this quote. Over 100 years ago, a psychologist named Edward Thorndike was already saying that the feeling of being tired is just a proactive warning sign. It's not a report that the system has already failed. So what's the brain's motive for pulling the plug on you early? It's just one word: homeostasis. That's the biological drive to keep your body in a stable, balanced, and safe condition. So according to this model, fatigue isn't a physical failure at all. It's an emotion. It's a sensation, just like pain, and it's designed to make you stop before you do any real lasting damage. Okay, so if the brain is this central governor that's making the call to shut everything down, how in the world does it know what's happening way down on the front lines, deep inside your muscles? It needs good intel, right? Well, the brain gets its intel from a key informant. Now, remember that inorganic phosphate, the stuff that was gumming up the muscle? Well, another byproduct of intense exercise, hydrogen ions, the things that cause muscle acidosis, that's what acts as the crucial signal to the brain. And here's exactly how that emergency communication system works. First, as you push yourself, your muscles produce these acid-causing hydrogen ions. Then, there are these specialized little sensory nerves inside the muscle that act like spies, and they detect this rising acidity. And finally, those nerves send an urgent message straight up the spinal cord to the brain, basically screaming, hey, things are getting dangerous down here, you need to slow this train down now. All right, let's put all the pieces of this puzzle together and deliver the final verdict on what exercise fatigue really is. This slide just sums up our entire investigation perfectly. We have two things happening at once. On one hand, you have peripheral fatigue. That's the muscles story. It's a hardware problem where that metabolic rust, the inorganic phosphate, builds up and the muscle physically can't produce as much force. But at the same time, you have central fatigue. That's the brain's story. It's a software decision where those nerve signals triggered by acid tell the brain it won't let the muscle use its full power, all to keep you safe. And we have some really cool evidence for just how smart this central governor in your brain is. One study looked at two different ways of tensing your core. One where you hold your breath, and another where you brace your abs while breathing normally. The brain responded completely differently to each one. It knew that holding your breath was a bigger threat because it affected blood flow near the brain itself, while just bracing your abs was a more local issue. This just proves the brain isn't some simple on-off switch. It's an incredibly sophisticated system. So, let's wrap this up. The most important point is this. That feeling of utter exhaustion, of hitting that wall, it is not your muscles failing you. It's a complex, it's sophisticated, and it's an absolutely essential protective feature, all orchestrated by your brain to make sure you survive. The best way to think about it is like this. What you feel as your absolute limit is actually your brain's carefully calculated safety margin. It's hitting the emergency brake for you, making sure you slow down long before you ever get close to actually crashing. Fatigue isn't a bug in the system. It's the most important feature you have. And all of this leaves us with a really provocative final thought. If that feeling of fatigue is really just a safety signal, an emotion created by our brain's protective instincts, and not some hard physical barrier, then what are our true physical limits? What are we really capable of? Understanding this system might just be the key to safely pushing our boundaries further than we ever imagined.